Hola, culés. Hey, everybody, what's going on? We got a lot to talk about today, most specifically the Deco out conversation, right? I've been seeing it a lot. Some of you guys have added me on Twitter about what's been going on with Deco, the decisions he's been making, the potential failures he's been having, and it's been kind of going viral among FC Barcelona fans right now. And look, I'm not surprised because this is kind of what happens to a lot of Barcelona fans when things start to go weird. A lot of people jump the gun and make outlandish claims. Deco is a slightly different story where he might not have been the most qualified person in the job and then seemingly made some good moves, brought in Roque though, and obviously that was a disaster. Now Roque is having a disastrous time in Brazil too, even though we were able to get offload him pretty easily. And now with all the Luis Diaz conversation, there's been more and more talk around it. Now, that's not the only news we're going to talk about today. Barcelona and are having some Camp Nou renovation issues. We all saw that coming. I mean, I did at least. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about what's been going on with the one-to-one deal and everything too, because that looks like a mess. And yeah, just strap in, relax, and grab a drink because this is going to be not the most fun video, but it's something we gotta talk about. Now, to begin, Deco was not that experienced when he first got this job as sporting director at FC Barcelona. However, he has a very good relationship with Joan Laporta, and more importantly, he has a very good relationship with other agents. And Jorge Mendes is one of the biggest agents around. I think he's also Leao's agent. He's basically the only agent Barcelona has been able to make deals with in the past few years at all. And partially it's because of the financial issues, not being able to reassure other agents that they will be able to make a signing go forward. They need to take advantage of the only relationships that they have. Deco has a very good relationship with Mendes, as well as, I don't know, I've seen a lot of rumors by this one guy on Twitter. I don't even want to give him the ground because he's a little extreme with the claims he makes, but he has very good relationship with Jorge Mendes, also Laporta's son, apparently, and because of these reasons, and apparently Echeverria, who is this kind of figure at the club who has a good relationship with players, and also has been kind of the guy looked to by Sandro Rosell, Bartomeu, old FC Barcelona presidents, and even Laporta to go and deal with problems they've had with players without them having to do it themselves. So he's kind of like a middleman between the president and the players, and has a lot of power for that reason. I think he has a good relationship with Deco, and according to this one guy on Twitter, and I've read into it more, Alejandro Echeverria is his real name if you want to look him up yourself. It's a little bit of a messy club, and it's very political, and because of that, it's hard to get things done, and when things are done, it's not exactly the best sporting reason for why it's going on, right? You think you're going to make a signing, it could be because you really want it, or maybe you're trying to get back in the good graces with the manager, so then in a few years when you're looking for a striker, when Lewandowski is out of contract, they do you a favor. Some kind of things like that, and it's led to this really weird position where Luis Diaz is pushing a lot for Deco is pushing a lot for Luis Diaz, and obviously that's not what a lot of Barcelona fans want to see. We're seeing a lot of reactionary stuff on Twitter here, like Magical Xavi, enough is enough. Payne is talking about it as well. Deco out, Deco out, Deco out. It was going viral. It's big. It's going big. It's making big moves among the Barca fans, especially in. I guess it makes sense. I don't love the Luis Diaz profile, and Liverpool's asking so much money for him. I think he'd be a good deal at like 50 to 60 is solid. It's fine. He's 27, so he's a little bit older, but for that amount of money, I think it's reasonable. They're asking like 80, 85, and that's ridiculous. He's apparently also agreed personal terms with Bayern, and for that reason, I think Barcelona is out, even though they all like to talk about how everyone would rather join Barcelona, and due to Deco's relationship with apparently Luis Diaz's agent, you'd think that maybe they can get it through, and that's probably Deco's thinking right now. I don't know. we'll see what happens because Flick is really pushing for a winger. And as I said earlier, the one-to-one thing has really become an issue in recent days where I think financially they thought things were going to be looking a little bit better, but probably partially tied to the Camp Nou renovation being pushed back yet again. This is like not a surprise. When I went there, I was so shocked, like at the such how terrible it looked, how out of just shape it looked for a stadium that was supposed to open 3 or 4 months before I even arrived, and that was 3-4 months ago. So people tried to remind me like, oh, it was a bigger renovation than the Bernabeu, and they really were just doing the exterior, and the interior is actually okay. That's not the case at all because they are having to push that back from doing the Joan Gamper match first and then going to have to go back to the Montjuic for the beginning of this season as well, which is not a surprise to me. I saw that coming because if you just look at the schedule this year, they've scheduled a lot of the bigger home games later into the season when there's a higher chance the Camp Nou can be ready because I think the people at the club knew there wasn't going to be that high of a chance it was going to be ready. And all of this leads to lower ticket sales, lower income for the club, lower planned revenue, making it more difficult for Barcelona to sign players. It's still weird because Barcelona had an objectively better season than they did last year, financially and otherwise. In a way, they should have more money. They should be able to spend more than $25 million for the goalkeeper, who, oh my God, Joan Garcia is also not necessarily going to be registered. That's come out recently that Ter Stegen might have surgery, and because he's having surgery, they now have the wage space to register Garcia, which is ridiculous. But I'm at a loss for words and not being at the one-to-one, and I think Deco is probably latching on to all of this financial mess and trying to get, in his mind, probably the best deal he can, and he probably feels like because he's buddy-buddy with everybody, there's connections, it's all political nonsense, that they will give him a deal or something on Diaz, which is just absolutely not what Liverpool is going to do right now. They have no reason to do that. I don't know. He's pushing for something that I don't think is the best move for this club to make, right? And we're seeing conversation now that Rooney Barchi, I'm not exactly sure, is kind of coming into fruition a little bit and looking a little bit better. Is he actually, or is the club just coming out with that now because they're seeing that the finances are much worse than we originally thought and they're not actually going to be able to sign somebody new? I think that's more likely the case, but it's not good because Hansi Flick isn't a guy who's going to be here for 5 years. He's going to be here for a couple. And you want to win as much as you can win with him here and this side playing. They're in their prime right now. I know Lamine Yamal is 17, but everyone is coming into a level that they should be filling holes, and they did a good job already, but it looks to be a lot better. It's not going to be that easy, though, this summer. And obviously, I'm not surprised. This team has struggled with finances for years, but it's upsetting to see, nonetheless, that we're still in this place constantly having to deal with this. Even though we sold a record amount of jerseys, they just released the number 10 jersey for Lamine Yamal early because I think they wanted to get in a lot of that revenue right now. I think that's a big reason why we didn't see very many good marketing moves by Barcelona towards this number 10 thing. Besides on the day that he was number 10, it kind of felt very thrown together and not as big of a production as you would have hoped for something that is this big of a deal, right? It felt like it could have been taken advantage of better, but I can imagine the club kind of rushing it out as soon as possible so that they could capitalize on the jersey sales that are going to come from this Lamine Yamal new number. And I get it. I understand that. But I'm just really, really frustrated that this is all going on. And the Deco out thing makes a lot of sense, guys. He's not going anywhere because he has that relationship. And I think Matteo Alemany, who was the sporting director for years and was very, very talented at doing his thing, he's not in charge of giving people the salaries and coming up with the numbers like that, but he's in charge of just recruiting players more or less. And getting those connections, getting those deals across the line in a way that Deco, it just hasn't really been. We've paid release clauses with Deco, more or less, right? Except for Roque, and we paid an absurd amount for that kid who was absolutely not ready, and the manager didn't want him. And it's upset. the biggest problem for me with Deco is that he clearly has his own agendas, and we hear so much that Laporta likes this one guy. Like, apparently Laporta really likes Rafa Leao, but other guys at the club don't. But Deco then likes this guy. Hansi Flick wants this guy. Someone else in the club wants your mother, and it's just a disaster. Nah, I'm sorry for the profanity, boys, but it's just ridiculous that this club is in this way right now, dude. It's summer. I'm ready to go to the beach. La Playa, some would say, and I can't because I got to deal with this nonsense, and it's just annoying. It's not that surprising. Neither is the Camp Nou not being ready, and neither is not being at the 1-1 because that's just where we've been for a little while. It's just really upsetting and frustrating that we're still dealing with it. And I'm not exactly sure where the finish line for this thing is. Is it when the Camp Nou reopens? If that's the case, when the hell is that going to happen? People in Barcelona have been building La Sagrada Familia for hundreds of years, and it's still not finished. It was supposed to be finished last year or this year, and it's been postponed again. When is it going to be done? When is the Camp Nou going to get done? And it's not the same scale of that. I know, it's just an exaggeration there, but it's frustrating to have zero clue what's going on, to not be able to trust really the things that are coming out from the club because it's so political and everything. That being said, you can kind of read into the actions that are being taken, like the talk about Rooney Barchi, like the number 10 release, as signs that we're probably not in the best case financially, and I probably wouldn't expect many financial moves to happen. I wouldn't blame Deco for this necessarily, though. I don't think it's all on Deco, though I've said my issues with Deco, and I don't think he's the best sporting director right now either. But we just got to wait and kind of see. I think that's what they have to do as well. That's what we're hearing. They kind of have to figure out their financials into August, and I would expect maybe some deadline deals to happen at best. Hansi Flick is really pushing for a winger, and I would be really surprised if they don't bring one in one form or another. Now, I don't really know how that's going to happen because there's not a lot of guys in the squad that want to leave. So we'll see what that ends up looking like. Araujo's release clause just jumped up to €1 billion, so he's probably not leaving. I don't know. I really don't know what they're doing, and I know they're frustrated too. I know it's just a mess to deal with, but it is what it is, boys. That's all. I just wanted to address that situation for you all, but Visca Barça, Visca Catalunya, boys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.